Hi everybody, this will be a quick recap of the Task Talk webinar that was held through illustrativemathematics.org last night, March 24th. It was a third grade open-ended math task titled Classroom Supplies. There were three main standards that were hit in this task. The first one is in operations and algebraic thinking. Use multiplication and division with 100 to solve word problems in situations involving equal groups, arrays, and measurement quantities. For example, by using drawings and equations with the symbol for the unknown number to represent the problem. The asterisk at the end of this standard is a reference to Table 2 in the appendix of the Common Core State Standards. The table shows common multiplication and division situations where the unknown is in different places. The other two standards, measurement and data, draw a scaled picture graph and a scaled bar graph to represent a data set with several categories. Solve 1 and 2 step, how many more and how many less problems using information presented in scaled bar graph, and then numbers and operations in base 10, fluently add and subtract within 1000 using strategies and algorithms based on place value, properties of operations, and or the relationship between addition and subtraction. This task was built in partnership with Illustrative Mathematics and moneyasyoulearn.org. You can go to this site to find lessons and tasks that integrate personal financial literacy that are already aligned to the Common Core. If you're teaching economics, this is a good place to look for tasks that integrate both economics and math. You can see that it's broken into clusters K to 2 and 3 to 5. So you can look for math tasks and language arts as well. The task starts by giving an intro. It says, your teacher was just awarded $1,000 to spend on materials for your classroom. She asked all 20 of her students in the class to help her decide how to spend the money. Think about which supplies will benefit the class the most. You might want to just give the intro to the task first and have students notice and wonder. Some of their wonderings might be about the types of supplies that are needed in the class, what supplies would be nice to have, and what would be fun to have. The next step might be giving them the chart of supplies and materials they have to choose from. Again, you could do a notice and wonder with the chart. They may notice that some supplies come in boxes, sets, and packages. The cost is not in order. Some might notice that the items cost more than others. They may wonder what the whole list is worth. Can you spend exactly $1,000? Or how will you keep track of your spending? On Illustrative, there's a chart that students can use to organize their work. I'm attaching one to the email. Something to talk about with your teams when you're in your PLCs is how are you going to group your students? Will it be individual? Are they going to do it on their own? With partners? Or are you going to put them in groups of 3 or 4? Here are the 4 main questions that hit the standards. At your grade level PLC, you can discuss what misconceptions students might have, what common mistakes you think they will make, or where their weaknesses will be. What will you do to support students without giving too much support? Remember, we want our students to grapple with a problem and then persevere in solving it. I'm just going to read through the 4 different sections. The students will write down the different items and how many of each they will choose, find the total for each category. They're going to create a bar graph to represent how they would spend the money and use a scale on the vertical axis of $100. They're also going to have to write all the labels. They have to then figure out what the total cost of all of their choices are and if they have enough money, if they have any money left over, and if so, how much. And then the last part, part D, is to compare their choices with a partner. How much more or less did you choose to spend on each category than your partner, and how much more or less did you choose to spend in total than your partner? This is a good place for kids to start critiquing the thinking of others and question one another. Why did you choose to do that? Can you explain your thinking? In the commentary section at the end of the task, you'll see an example of student work as well as a sample graph. You might ask the students why bar graphs are useful. They can be used quickly to compare data. They will be useful when students are comparing at the end of the task at that section D. Finally, talk with your team about how you plan on wrapping this task up. Will they present out to the class? Possibly vote on one way to solve? Maybe write a persuasive letter to the principal, or just use their own and write an informational piece. Whatever you decide, talk about this together as a team so then you have evidence to share together at your next PLC. Thank you for listening. I know this was short. I wanted to be as quick as possible. I do want to point out that every 3 weeks, Illustrative is doing an elementary level task talk. It is on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. at the end of our task talk last night, there were two different points that the presenter wanted to point out. One was bigmarker.com is a website that has a whole list of web conferences. I'm going to be doing another one tonight. I think it's a K-2 number sense talk. They're all free, and there are tons and tons of different conferences you can go to, and they happen every single day. The other one that they wanted to point out was the QThink app on iTunes. It's an innovative iPad app to improve critical thinking skills and math communication of students in grades 4 through 12. And right now it is free and will be free through July 31st. So check it out and see what you think. Thank you very much.